This is what God wills from the very, very beginning, before he even created the world. He willed to do all these things in you. Every act of yours, every thought of yours, every word that you're going to say in your life, every affection you're going to have, everything you're going to have in your life, he already formed it. He already established it before he created the world. Every one of us already formed in his will, already established in his will. We were not created yet. He created us at a moment in time and inserted us into our mother's womb. But from the very, very beginning, when God is God, right from all eternity, when there's before any beginning, God has no beginning, he already formed each one of us. Everything we're going to say in our life, everything you're going to do in your life, everything you're going to, whatever in your life, your blueprint of your life is already formed. Now, that is the perfect life of yours. And of course, we, with our free will operating on its own, before we knew anything about the divine will, we were stuffing around. We were not doing exactly according to God's will that he had formed pertaining to us from the very beginning. But now that we are living in the divine will, every moment of every day of our lives now, living in the divine will, every word we say, he had formed it from the very beginning. Every thought you make, he has formed it from the beginning. Every act you do, he had formed it in the beginning. And so if you start to ask the question, ooh, is this predestination? Is that how God wills some of us to go to heaven and some of us to go to hell? Uh, uh, Let me answer that question um, succinctly. God predestined every one of the human family to be saved. God predestined every one of us to be saved. But he respects our human will. So we can say no to him and do our own thing and get our rotten reward or our good reward, as the case may be. But he predestined everyone to be saved. And that's why when you're reading, when you're meditating on the hours of the passion with regards to Judas' betrayal of Christ, how much tears Jesus cried, how much sobbing Jesus undertook with regards Judas being lost. If Judas was predestined by God in his will from all beginning to be lost, why would Jesus shed even a single tear? Because that would be accomplishing his will for Judas to be lost. But God predestined everyone to be saved, including Judas. And that is why, and that would explain why, Jesus cried heaps for the loss of the soul of Judas. And every other soul in the human family which will be lost forever because it's irretrievably lost. There is no coming back, there's no more returning. So if they were predestined to be lost, like some strange Christian denomination stipulated, if they're all predestined to be lost, why is Jesus crying for them? He willed them to be lost. But the fact is, the Catholic faith teaches us God predestined everyone to be saved. He wants everyone to be saved. Everyone is precious to him. But he respects our free will if we choose to go somewhere else. Okay? Now, what am I leading to now? I talk so much about it. I was coming off something else. Okay, so they are necessary to God. So when you say it is Jesus who wants to prepare food, so let me prepare food with him. Now, because you use that formula, you are also declaring that Jesus wants to prepare food. Therefore, you're preparing the food with him. He is saying right here in this diary entry that that preparation of food, that moment, that preparation of food, that act is necessary to him. To him, God. It is necessary to him. Imagine that. He is a necessary being. We are contingent being. This act, preparation of food, as in the example, is necessary to him. Wow. So if you know what you're talking about, you look at this word, you look at this sentence, you go, wow, he is pretty serious. So if anyone, because I have this question asked of me quarter of a century ago, someone said, hold on, I can't handle this one. It is Jesus wants to eat, so I eat with him. I can't go along with this because how can I make Jesus eat? So, um, that kind of question is depending on how much theological depth you want to enter into. There is an explanation for it. The explanation is right here on your screen. I highlighted it. Okay, Jesus himself said, because he wants to do it, he wants to do the act, therefore it is necessary to him. That is so important. It's necessary to him. So for this diary entry, this is one of the main points. Okay, if you are in the beginner stage, you might be thinking, I still don't see what's so big deal about this phrase. But I can tell you, as you go deeper and deeper into the living the divine world and understanding more and more theological stuff, you begin to appreciate when it comes to this kind of sentence where it becomes necessary because only God isn't necessary. We are all contingent beings. But for an act that a contingent being partaking in, and now God himself saying, because he wants to do it, therefore it's necessary, that means it adds home the point where he said in other diary entries, he had formed and established every act we're going to do, every thought we're going to make, every word we're going to say from the very beginning of time. Before time was even created, he already formed it in his will, which makes sense because he has willed it. He has made it necessary for him to do it in us come the time when we're going to live in the divine will. All right, continuing on, Jesus now, so this is Louisa, back to Louisa now. Louisa says, now one day I was working and I thought to myself, how is it possible that Jesus works in me while I work? It's a good question. Louisa asks, how is it possible that Jesus works in me while I work? So presumably Louisa would have applied the formula above, and Louisa would say, it is Jesus who wants to work. Okay, so what kind of work does she do? She was doing the tombolo, the lace making, right? So she would have said something along the line of, it is Jesus wants to do this tombolo, so let me do this tombolo with him. And then she asks herself this question, how is it possible that Jesus works in me while I work? Does he really want to do this work? Does he really want to do this tombolo? Okay. And now Jesus is going to answer her. Jesus says, yes, I do. My fingers are in yours and they work. My fingers are in yours and they work. Okay. Yes, I do. My fingers are in yours and they work. You see, at the start of this Cénacle, I say that this is a continuation of the series on fusion. When you are fused with the Lord in the most holy divine will, you and the Lord become one, become one. Your wills become one. Everything about you and your God become one. So, in light of that, just look at Jesus' words here. My fingers are in yours, and they work. Okay, so as Louisa is doing the tombolo, assuming that that was a work that she was referring to, Jesus' fingers are in hers. And we know in the divine will everything is mutual. Therefore, her fingers are in the Lord's fingers. And both Louisa and Jesus, their fingers were in unison, working together. And Jesus says, my daughter, when I was on earth, didn't my hands lower themselves to work the wood, hammer the nails, and help my foster father Joseph in the smithing work? And Jesus continues, while I was doing that with those very hands and with those fingers, I created souls and called other souls to the other life. I read that again. Jesus says, while I was doing that, okay, doing the carpentry work in the wood, in the workshop when in Nazareth, when I was doing that with those very hands and with those fingers, I created souls and called other souls to the other life and called other souls to the other life. I divinized all human actions. I divinized all human actions. I sanctified them, giving a divine merit to each one of them. I sanctified them, giving a divine merit to each one of them. Very important, right? To take note that he divinized all human actions while he was in Nazareth. Okay? During his hidden life, he divinized all, no exception, all human actions. And he said he sanctified them, he made them all holy, giving a divine merit, not a human merit, a divine merit to each one of them. And Jesus continues, in the movements of my fingers, I called in sequence all the movements of your fingers and those of others. I'm going to read that again. In the movements of my fingers, there's the movement of his fingers in the workshop in Nazareth. In the movements of his fingers while he's doing carpentry, he called in the sequence of all the movements of our fingers and those of others, the entire human family. All the movements of our fingers were in the movements of his fingers. Put it another way, he is giving us the wherewithal. Remember, Jesus is the divine will. The divine will is giving us the prime act. Prime act meaning the first act, the most important act, the most significant act. It's providing the prime act for us to move our fingers to do our work. Without him contributing to the movement of our fingers, we'll achieve nothing. Our fingers won't be able to move. That's actually not the end of the sentence. We have another second half of the sentence to go. So Jesus says, and if I saw that they were doing them for me, or because I wanted to act within them, I continued my life of Nazareth in them, and I felt cheered by them. For the sacrifices and the humiliations of my hidden life giving them the merit of my own life. Now, this is so important. I'm going to read it again, and then I'm going to comment on it. And if I saw that so this is Jesus speaking, and if I saw that they as in souls, were doing them for me, or because I wanted to act within them. Okay, so when we apply the formula, the actual acts invocations we covered at the start of this Cénacle, you know how we say, "It is Jesus want to eat, so let me eat with him." All right, and so this is covered by this part here, because I wanted to act within them, or because I wanted to act within them. So that's covered. Okay, this is covered by this part here. Those actual acts invocations that we covered earlier. Jesus says, I continued my life of Nazareth in them. I continued my life of Nazareth in them. So Jesus continues the life of Nazareth, his hidden life, in us. When we use those actual acts invocations, the method he gave us to forget ourselves, he continued the life of Nazareth, his life, in our life. And that speaks volumes. It also gives us a deeper insight into this fusion. Remember, we're still on the series of fusion. So our life and Jesus' life is intertwined into this one life. Right? He continues the life of Nazareth, his life in Nazareth, in our life in 2025. And Jesus says, and I felt cheered by them for the sacrifices and the humiliations of my hidden life, giving them, that's giving you and me, the merit of my own life. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. See, just by you invoking the actual X invocation, it is Jesus who wants to drink. So let me drink with him. Now, he said by us doing that, therefore he wanting to drink in us, he is continuing his life of Nazareth in us, and he's giving us the merit of his own life. Wow, wow, wow. See, just by you invoking the actual X invocation, it is Jesus who wants to drink. So let me drink with him. Now, he said by us doing that, therefore he wanting to drink in us, he is continuing his life of Nazareth in us, and he's giving us the merit of his own life. He is a divine person. He's not a human person. This divine person has both the divine nature and the human nature. If he gains any merit, his merit can only be of divine caliber. He's not a human person. So if he gains any merit, it's always a divine merit. And he's saying what here? He's saying he's giving the souls the merit of his own life. That's divine merit right there. Okay, so we may not think much of it. It is Jesus who wants to pray, so let me pray him. We didn't think much of it. But here Jesus is saying, I'm continuing my hidden life in you. And whatever merit I gain, which is divine merit, I'm giving it to you. I'm giving it to you. So you gain, and that's one way of seeing how your acts, your thoughts, your words in the divine will, you know how it is. one of the truth point put forward for the people living in the divine will is every act you do in the divine will encloses the divine life. Remember that one? Every act you do in the divine will encloses the divine life. How does that work? It is right here. It is right here. It's explained right here in front of you now. Giving the soul, the merit of my own life. That's the divine life. You gain a divine life in that act. And so all it takes is for you to forget yourself. And by wanting to forget yourself, you will use those actual acts, invocation. It is Jesus who wants to drive. So let me drive with him. It is Jesus who wants to take the bus. So let me take the bus. And now Jesus' life, hidden life of Nazareth, is intertwined with your life as you are taking the bus. And guess what? Your act of taking the bus encloses Jesus' divine life because he's giving you the merit of his own life. Okay, if I keep on talking like this, the Cénacle will go nowhere, but I'm trying to emphasize to you how vitally important that you use the actual acts invocations, the formula that Jesus himself gave. Jesus gave very, very few formulas in the book of heaven. This is one of those times where he gave the formula. Okay? He said it's the only method, only way to forget ourselves. He wants us to forget ourselves so that we can gain his life. Right. I got to move on. I'm getting so carried away with that because to me, I can only tell you so much. I can only articulate so much. There are a lot more in my head which I cannot articulate. I don't know how to put them in words. So I'm hoping here that enough of what I'm saying rub off on you such that in your meditation, in your rumination, you can arrive at the other wonderful things that I think of, which I don't know how to articulate in words. All right. So here's hoping that it will just rub off on you. It'll be great. Wonderful. And likewise, I hope to receive your ruminations. So we are all together in this one. And Jesus says, daughter, the hidden life that I conducted in Nazareth is not taken into account by men, when in fact, after the passion, nothing could benefit them more. Nothing could benefit them more. So here's a very powerful clue that Jesus tells. No, it's more than clue. He's telling us directly that his life, his hidden life in Nazareth, is not to be understated or underrated. And Jesus continues, by lowering myself to all those little actions and those acts which men exercise during their daily life, such as eating, sleeping, drinking, working, starting the fire, sweeping, etc., all acts which no one can do without, I made flow inside their souls a tiny divine coin of incalculable price. And what does that tiny divine coin of incalculable price look like? It looks like this one here. We just covered it. Giving them the merit of my own life, a divine life. What price can you put on a divine life? There's no price. It's not for sale. How much does it cost? And that's why you could say, I made flow inside their souls a tiny divine coin of incalculable price. Okay? So you gain a divine life. That is the divine coin of incalculable price. And Jesus says, therefore, if my passion redeemed them, my hidden life provided each human action even the most insignificant one, like scratching your face, like blowing your nose, completely insignificant. To the eyes of men, it means nothing. In fact, they might think it's an annoyance, right? So Jesus said, even the most insignificant one with divine merit and with infinite value. I'm going to read that one more time and then I'll move on. Therefore, if my passion redeemed them, my hidden life provided each human action, even the most insignificant one, with divine merit and with infinite value. Who would have thought that you, by eating your simple little meal, you are getting divine merit and with infinite value? Just by drinking your little plain water, Adam's ale, you're gaining divine merit with infinite value. Who would have thought of that? How much love he has for us. Okay. So moving on, Jesus says, do you see? As you work, working because I want to work, working because I want to work, because you invoked it. And you invoked it because Jesus, from all beginning, formed all the acts you're going to do in your life in his will. So you're just carrying them out. There's one thing that I want to mention, which some people might have in mind. They didn't ask me any question, but if you're thinking, why God formed all these actions that we're going to do in our life in his will, is it acts that it's completed, that he has formed in his will? The answer is no. The acts that we're going to do in our life, when he formed it in his will from the very beginning, before the world was even created, he made it clear in one of the diary entries that those acts, those thoughts, those words that he had formed in his will with regards to what we're going to say, do, or think in our life, in time, he wants us to complete them. So he formed them, he formed all the acts we're going to do, all the thoughts we're going to make in our life, all the words we're going to say in our life. He formed all of them. In fact, in other words, he formed our entire life, the perfect life, the ideal life, in his will from the very beginning, before the world was made. And he is expecting us to come onto the stage in due time, enter into his will, and live out exactly, carry out exactly the acts, the thoughts, the words, the affections, everything, our whole life, as he had formed in the beginning.